ourselves to stop that? And what are some of those tactics going to be? And I'm going to share some of the ones I'm going to be doing for myself and what I have my clients do. But let's first talk about like dopamine and dysregulation from a science perspective.
From what perspective?
Medical science, like I'd
gotcha.
like your kind of, and like how does that work? What are the dangers, all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of people misunderstand the dopamine dysregulation.
Yeah, this is interesting because you know I have such a different viewpoint behind stuff like this.
Yeah.
Because let me just start by saying this so people watching, and you know, when we talk about neurotransmitters and when we talk about hormones and chemicals in the body, we could go down the route of dopamine and neurotransmitter imbalances. That's a route we could go. But that's not a route that I'd like to take everyone in, because that is a route that is doesn't lead to any significant permanent change. So, for example, they have I think there's something like 40 million people now on either an antidepressant or anti-anxiety drug,
right?
Without any proof and not one test. Not one chemical test to show that actually anxiety or depression is an imbalance in the brain chemistry. Not one test to show that. And yet we're giving people chemicals. So here's why I'm saying this. A lot of our neurotransmitters and chemicals, because they are the function of our body is truly a loudspeaker of us. So we'll open this up and take this into this direction. Those chemicals are designed for us to function in our reality and survive. So let's go back ancestrally, okay? So your amygdala and hippocampus are the animal parts of the brain. The animal parts of the brain are wired to do two things. That's it. Avoid pain, chase pleasure. That's where dopamine comes into place, okay? So if something brings me dopamine, that's going to be pleasure. If something doesn't, it's going to be pain. And that's as simple as it is. Now, that was helpful for survival in let's say prehistoric and caveman times. But let's just say, Aaron James, you are a prehistoric caveman, and which that microphone really sounds like it, but you're see. So then let's say you're a prehistoric caveman and you walk by a dark cave and something comes out and scratches you in the face and you bleed and you run away. Okay. Your brain for survival will say, holy shit, it's going to go through all kinds of adrenaline. There's no dopamine in that, but there's no, right. And what it does is, oh shit, there's pain. And it wires in dark cave pain. So then what we do is we avoid the dark cave. Mm-hmm. The problem with that, my friend, is that the love of your life, your soulmate, is in a dark cave.
And I have to go find her there. And I'm not going to go in a dark cave.
No, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Or any other dark space for that matter.
Right.
Anything dark that looks like a cave.
Exactly. No, exactly. Just dark and alone. Oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
So exactly. So I just want to say that just to understand that primitively, that's what your brain is trying to do. Right. So if we move forward and we go from our animal brain to our more advanced executive centers, the frontal lobe is where you can reason outside of your animal instincts. That's where you and I can go, well, maybe not every cave has dark, scary claws coming out of it. Right. Yep. So I want to just process this, because this conversation is a conversation of asking ourselves, am I operating in my animal mind or am I operating in my evolved mind? And that's where this dopamine place comes in, right? Yeah. When we are seeking to avoid things that don't give dopamine, many times that's actually moving into your evolved self. For example, here's an example. I'm like, I want a sugar. I want a chocolate chip cookie right now. Well, I can go feed that, which gives me dopamine. The problem is eventually I become fat. Eventually I have diabetes, and eventually I end up in the hospital. if I just eat enough of that shit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't lead to anything fulfilling at all. It doesn't lead to long-term pleasure. This is short-term pleasure. But if I sit in the pain, if I go in the cave, that's what I'm saying. If I go in the fucking cave and I sit in the darkness and I let it move through me and I go, wow, this wasn't so bad, I no longer look for dopamine. And what that does is it moves me into my more evolved part of my brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. Now I want to review porn, phones, that stuff, right?
Exactly.
Let's talk modern times. Let's talk. These are the things that are selling our soul and taking us down those roads. Like what we're doing repeatedly each and every day is going to stack up compound interest over time. So said, why are phones, porn, other addictions, other things like that? And by the way, I'm going to say your question earlier is if I'm going to come from my automaticity, from the automatic, or am I going to go from my evolved self? Well, these social media platforms, and we are on one right, we're on multiple. These are created almost as algorithms to be able to feed these dopamines. Video games are larger than movies these days because they are built in with these psychological triggers that keep us in that always chasing something new, always thing, right? Keeping us on the edge of that and feeding that dopamine fix. So we're in a system in many ways that is feeding this dopamine addiction or dysfunction.
Yeah. So like Harry's saying this because, and I love this topic when you first wrote, when I first saw this. So, this is important for many reasons. I do want to say because the dopamine sometimes there's no bad and good in any of this, truly. So dopamine is essentially your brain's motivation. It's a reward chemical,
Yeah.
and
It's
it
supposed to
does.
be there. We definitely
Yeah,
want to use it. Right.
yeah,
Right.
exactly right. So I'm not making it bad, right?
Yeah.
So it helps you feel focused, helps you feel excited, it helps you feel driven, and so it actually kind of is a motivating thing to move towards, right? So phones, let's look at phones. They're designed. Phones are designed to release dopamine. I watch myself. I'm like, my God, it's just such a great dopamine high right now. Like as I'm on it, like because I know what it's doing. So notifications, surprise rewards, like ding
Oh my
ding, you
gosh.
gotta listen, right?
Yeah. And when you're away from it too, I'm gonna sit down and go to the bathroom. I pick it up. When I'm on waiting for something, oh, doctor's office, sit down, boom.
I know, man.
It's got the
I'm doing
things
it.
in it. It's
Yeah.
everything's in it. And I find myself doing like, motherfucker, put
Yep.
that down. No, no, no,
Yep.
no, no, no. We got to put
Yep.
this down more often.
Now another one that will release more dopamine when you feel seen, liked, or validated, you release dopamine. Those three things are the definition of social media. When you feel seen, liked, or validated. And now it's interesting because we can link this. We're talking about the phones, right? But also even in porn, you could say this too. There's a ton of even sites where you're just not just watching a video, you're interacting with someone. It is major dopamine highs, right? Also looking at from the standpoint of social media, the endless scrolling. So having new content all the time. Imagine if our social media had one piece of content all week long. It's interesting because you would look at it and be like, this is really cool. And then it'd be done. You wouldn't pick up your phone again until next Monday.
Yeah.
That's why we need all the new content. So the chase keeps you hooked for the next hit.
Yep. And as they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, that's why these like little clips and things just have to keep grabbing the attention to take you from one thing to the next. Part of what we're talking about here is regaining right your purpose. Why this overstimulation is stealing our purpose. And when I say purpose, like a mission, like if we're not 100% focused on the thing that we impact we're driving or the work we're doing, like what we meant to do in this world, social media, all these other things, porn, all these things are distracting us from what's most important to us. So I think this is also on a high performance level, not just a health and wellness level, but like look at all the things that are trying to distract us, advertising wise, all of that. Everything wants our eyeballs and our attention. Everything during these in these platforms, everything wants our attention. So we have to be sophisticatedly diligent about what our attention to. So, so the next thing is I was going to talk about like the pain. I wanted to get deeper into the pain. Like if we go too far down this road, yeah, you're going to gain weight. You're going to basically go opposite of what you want to have, a healthy, productive, loving lifestyle for as long as you can during this lifetime. And so dopamine within that regular spectrum that you talked about, and we're not keeping ourselves accountable to these things that are happening. And by the way, it's always against us. So, I mean, have we talked about the pain enough? Basically, it's like I want people to know, like this scrolling, this scrolling, the watching too much porn, things like that are just giving you that fix can take you down a path that is it's not that is full. It's just going to be an upward battle, and it can be really debilitating. So, anything else to add to the pain before we get to the result or how to fix it?
Yeah, what I was really feeling into was the absence of pleasure could even be perceived pain. So, like for example,
Yeah,
for your brain, meaning
yeah,
huge like porn causes a huge dopamine spike, visual stimulation, new scenes, new people, fantasy, desire, instant reward with no effort, just pleasure. That's
yeah.
what it is. So wherever you perceive a reward with no effort, that's the false
Nice.
high. That's because notice things that you've put energy and effort into and you're rewarded are like so satisfying. And so that's interesting to look at it from that angle, because we have pain and pleasure, and then you have the synthesis of pain and pleasure, which we'll talk about in just a second. But that's what's
Okay.
happening is I think over time it's less motivation. You don't get the high anymore, and there's you basically can't the it's more like these temporary ups, and there's always going to be a down, but you never really truly feel fulfillment. You never feel the
Yeah,
blending of pain and pleasure.
that's that loss of true fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right. That's why those who can relate do an hour long, you say, hey, I'm going to go do yoga, hot yoga. That's pushing your body. Or you're going to do, hey, you're going to come do hour and a half breath work with me and hypnotherapy and all that. At the end, when you're pushing through, when it feels like your mind wants to shut down, it's because in a lot of your life, we've had these dopamine, these saying is those quick fixes and those quick dopamine releases. Whereas when you earn it, when you're taking more longer time out of for your mind, what is used to, then we're stretching that. And then at the end of that, oh, that relief, that good
Yeah.
feeling, that deep actual fulfillment that you feel in every single cell in your body. So
Yeah.
that's really that's the big difference. And the trick is not to get small little doses like the system wants you to be caught up, but to then
Yeah.
catch yourself. So how do we get into that, right? Like how do we catch before we talk about the solution here, right? And I
Mhm.
want to repeat to people, you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. Nope. You have everything inside of you that you need, want, desire. All of that power is inside,
Mm.
not external. So these things are all external, trying to get control of your internal view. So I want to just say that. But what else, Dr.
Yeah.
Cody, can we do to catch it in its tracks and
Yeah.
stop this?
Okay. So I'm going to say something probably very unpopular. Um, because listen, from my perspective, my friend, I literally have worked with thousands of people at this point, and most of these people have seen counselors and therapists for years trying to stop doing something.
Yep.
It doesn't fucking work trying to stop something. The reason why is because the more you try to stop something, it
Yep.
means you see that thing as more bad than good. And not why I want to point this out here is specifically, let's talk about the porn. When I've had men come to me say, "Hey man, I got a real problem. It's with porn." The first thing we do is we go and find the benefits of the porn.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
what we do is, so
To
watch
them.
this.
Yeah. To them.
To them, exactly. So in other words, they're like going, "Oh my God, this is destroying my life. It's doing these things," right? So they're polarized. So the more polarized you are, the more you're going to you're more drawn the swing. So all we do is we go, "Hey buddy, when you're watching the porn, what happened?" "Well, I felt connected." "And okay, that's great. How'd that help you?" "How'd that help you?" "Oh, actually," we start finding, I have some guys who are like, "Holy shit, I made a lot more money this year because I wasn't out on dates spending thousands of dollars on dates, and I was on porn. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So watch this. We go from the oh my god, this is bad to right in the middle to have love and appreciation. That's the place to make change from. I believe I've watched when you make change from a place that this thing is bad, you're setting yourself up for a relapse in the thing.
Right. Right. And that's talking about that frequency we talked about. Right. We're going
Mhm.
from the shame, the guilt, the lowest stuff there that they're feeling, what you're bringing it to neutral, which is a higher frequency. That higher frequency, by adding a little bit of loving that thing or bringing that appreciation, then it's much easier to change than bringing it from that lower frequency. So it's beautifully
Yeah,
put.
I love that.
Love
Yeah.
this strategy.
Yeah. And I was going to say, man, I've actually really, this conversation, I've really actually questioned and asked myself in the psychedelic world,
Hmm.
which part of when if we dive into psychedelics, which part of this is me wanting to feel better. And so a little trigger in my brain has been, if I feel bad, I won't do any psychedelic journeys at
Yeah.
all. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing. It's just because I know myself.
That's your
Because
barometer, right? We've got to all
yeah,
check in with ourself. Some
exactly.
people say, "Oh yeah, yeah, it's going to open up the heart. You're going to feel much better." But if you're in a real shitty place, if you're in a
Yeah.
real dark place, I always recommend no. Let's go do some breath work state first. Let's see
Yes.
what's really
Right.
going on, and maybe put a different day, because the state you're going in with can be very, very important. And are you rested? Have you slept well? Have you fed yourself? If you
Yeah. Love
haven't
that.
done any of those things and you were unresourced, that is not a good time to do psychedelics.
Bingo.
This is our,
Bingo.
yeah.
That's cool. We kind of came to that same conclusion. So then your question is, what do we do? The first thing I would recommend doing is make sure you clear any energy polarities on the thing you're trying to avoid. So if I'm trying to go, I want to stop doing this, I better damn well know the benefits and drawbacks equally, because when I'm in love and appreciation, I don't have as many polarity swings. So
Okay,
step one,
let's get a practical example now.
yeah,
Let's do the step
yeah,
one, but let's talk something through here
yeah.
to make it easy. Um, we can do porn. We've talked about porn a lot. Let's do something different that somebody else wants to do. What's something popular? What one of your clients is looking to clean up, apply to your work with
Well, let's just
the
say a
gut.
big one is I want to stop eating sugar.
Yep.
That's a big one. A big one.
Okay.
So step one, this is what people do though, is they go, I want to stop eating sugar. I'm trying to stop. They go, first things first, this is so cool, man. If people get the little logistics of this, I was channeled and told this process. I didn't read this whole thing. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
so the step one, I want a cookie. I want a sugar. Okay. I identify that. Okay. If I just go sit and the wanting of the cookie without having. It's so simple, because I was told this and like, what do you mean? What does that actually mean?
No,
So I'm
so
saying,
this is me. If there's a cookie over there and I'm looking at the cookie
yeah,
and I'm like, you know what? Hang on real quick. We're gonna pause. Really, I'm hungry and I'm just gonna go eat that cookie because it's staring me in
right.
the face.
Yeah,
But I go, wait a minute. And I sit here and don't get a cookie. Literally stay in it and I maybe close my eyes and I sink into, and you can guide
the
me if you want what you're
sink
saying.
into. I want you to feel the pain of not getting the cookie.
Ooh, that would be down in my stomach.
Yep,
It's
yep,
like
and then
actually coming from my stomach.
yep, and they go, okay, relax your face, relax your shoulders, and dive face first in the middle of what you feel in your stomach. Is there a
Yeah.
shape? Is there a color?
Yeah, there's a bit of a color of brown, darkish brown, and there was simply like this pulling towards that, like almost that dope, it's almost this rope wanting to pull me that way, and a tension where there's like a chain right on my belly button there.
Great description. And so you just go. So when you feel that, you go relax your face, relax your shoulders, and go even further in. And many things can occur when someone does this, but you're just going to let it go through the full waves. A lot of times it get worse. Oh my God, it's worse. And then it gets worse when you just lean a little further, and you'll notice that it'll dissipate or even move to different parts of your body.
Yeah, for me, transparently, like I've done longer hypnotherapy, NLP, stuff like that. So it actually quickly like started withering away and
Yep.
almost loosening, and then I felt the thing let go.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So very interesting, because what we just did was we just had you face the dark cave. And what I noticed
Yeah.
is when we go, okay, wait a minute, when there's no more pain to take away, there's no more desire to go get dopamine. You go, well, that's interesting, because that's what I found is we're trying to release dopamine because we feel bad. But if
Yeah.
we face the feel bad, all of a sudden you go, what feels good now? And now we're coming from a place of equilibrium. And I want to say that really clearly. Equilibrium is homeostasis. Your body's always staying homeostatic, but that doesn't mean you are. You're trying to stay
Mm,
homeostatic, which means in between sympathetic and parasympathetic. But what you just did was became in homeostatic in your consciousness, and we make better decisions in equilibrium than we do on either side of the charge.
beautifully put. Okay. So that's okay. That's a thank you for walking us through that. I want to throw a few other ones in. Like how do we take back our brain? Is like, and I'm just going to speak on the social media part. Every single time we are liking something, we're putting it.
Hmm.
And what I talk about with a lot of guys, and I'll do this cleanse as well. And as I'm falling into, because that algorithm is, yeah, man, it'll tits and ass. It'll start putting stuff in there like,
Dude,
oh no, I haven't
100%.
clicked on it. I'm just gonna look at it. And all of a sudden you've noticed you've clicked 5 fucking things, and there's more in your
Yes.
the search
Yes.
thing. So one, I'll speak to guys and on the girls the same thing. The stuff that's out there, that's that little hit, stop
Yeah.
liking it. Don't
Oh.
like it. Hold it. If you like it, read, like, keep the energy here, because you keep leaking. It's creating these leaks inside of your energy. And secondly, stop following that are those, the OnlyFans, and not the, hey, people doing their OnlyFans, do your thing. I'm just saying what I stopped doing, all the hot women I had on there, or the
Mhm.
fitness people, or the models and all that. Just cut it out and start detracting in the platforms that you're on the most, any of those distractions and things. And say, if I'm not following somebody that helps me with my mission, my vision, my goals, where I'm headed, then they don't need to see their feed, and I don't want them to be popping up. And so I'm going to be putting my energy, my likes on really nice quotes, really nice motivational videos, really medical health stuff, whatever, and really like clean up your output of that kind of stuff, so that the input coming back in is not, that's one small one you can do today. Spend some
Mm.
time and unfollow, clean up your act on all the different platforms, and really letting that input being on there. Now that's first initial to, secondly, a full social media digital detox
Mm.
weeks.
Love
Deleting
that.
the app on your phone doesn't mean you have to delete your account. It just
Yeah.
means delete it on your phone. If you're in business, hire somebody posting for you, and or go on your iPad or something separate where you're not always on it, just posting there, as opposed to having it so easily accessible. Those are
Love
just a
that.
couple other
Real,
tactical ones.
real life. That's real life stuff, man. I like you gave action steps. Let's also give some actions where someone could get some natural dopamine release if they're actually
Nice.
looking for it.
Yes.
Right?
Nice. Perfect. Yep.
Cold shower, cold dip, cold plunge. Huge dopamine boost with this.
Mm. Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh yeah.
sunlight and early morning light. There's listen, this is so funny because like we all know this, but this is the way the body's been wired in the brain for
Yeah.
more than 25,000 years. Movement and workouts. God, how many times have I like felt? I know when I've worked a long day and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to go to the gym, and I already know because I've done it so many times. If I go to the gym, I'm going to feel amazing after. So it's because I know the after feels so good, right? Dopamine
Yep.
release. This is
Yep.
a big one. I love this one right here. Deep connection and real intimacy.
Yeah.
And we could have a whole
Yeah.
conversation about that. But deep, I mean, I feel deeply connected with you, man. Like I sometimes be able to actually have the deep connection I have with you. I'm like, what a what an equilibrium of a high. I don't even want to call it high because it's not highs and lows. It's love and appreciation. I think is what you call it.
Sure.
And
That's
then
another one for me.
yeah,
Reaching out and just having a good, quality, authentic, present conversation. Also, present moment, not in the
yeah.
future, not in the past, is really,
There
really,
you
really
go.
beautiful,
Actually, you know
right?
what?
Like just being presence.
When I was saying about homeostasis and equilibrium, that's what I didn't. That's what it is. When you become present in the moment when you're outside of those polarities. That's huge. Geez, that went by fast,
yoga,
man.
yoga, breath work, all of that, all of that. Yeah. Do you got to go? You have a call?
I do have a call. You want to stay on and do
Okay.
some more?
Well, I'm gonna no, I'm gonna do another one later, but this was
Okay.
awesome. Thank you. We got the action steps in there. We've got the dopamine. Everybody, this is about taking your brain back, and always a fun time. Dr. Cody, thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Put
All
your
right, brother.
comments in the below on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Love you all. Talk to you soon. Bye, guys.